Hello, this is Becky, and I just want to welcome you to my YouTube channel and hope that you enjoy the information that's presented today. I am a clinical social worker. My interest right now is learning as much as I can. And there's my doggie, Kato. Say hi, Kato. What I'm doing right now is I'm learning and growing myself and integrating universal spirituality into the work that I do. And I'm just trying to create a platform where we can collectively come together and begin to talk about some of those things that may be outside of our belief system or outside of our boundaries. And so I think it's healthy to actually stretch these sort of boundaries and our understanding that we are constantly evolving and changing as individuals, and that a lot of truth exists outside of our current belief system if we just open our mind and step out of the box and allow the divine guidance to come through for us. So anyway, that's why I developed this YouTube channel. And it's also why I developed my Facebook group, the Holistic and Intuitive Therapist and Coach Collective. So I hope you enjoy this episode today that involves a discussion of some of my friends and colleagues about that very topic of intuition. So have a great day. Thank you. And also don't forget to like and subscribe. Appreciate it. See ya. What I love about that this is happening more and more, like Carrie mentioned, more and more people are beginning to talk about intuition. A lot more therapists and coaches, they're beginning to use that in the work that they do. And if I had known that, I might have been more comfortable, stepping into that more fully myself, a couple years ago, possibly. But so I love that we can connect and talk about that. So I'll see.
I think one of the things too that's really important about that is we've all been taught not to trust our own thoughts or even our own eyes. Where it's like we're trained. So
yes, use your mind. What's logical?
Right.
And if it's a feeling or a sensation, you're like, do I trust it?
Right.
To Karen, I'm so glad that you can be here. Do you want to unmute yourself and say hi to everyone?
Hi, everyone. I'm glad I'm here.
We are too.
Nice to meet you all.
Hello.
You're traveling?
Hi, I have bad reception, so.
Okay, well, we're glad you're here. And I'm gonna be talking to Megan a little bit here in a minute. And I don't know if Carrie, you and Karen both want to just kind of introduce yourself and tell everyone kind of what you do real quick. And then we can get into some of the discussion with Megan, which is our guest today, if you want to call it. But Carrie, do you want to mention a little bit about what you do and who you are, and just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm Carrie Sokup. I live in Omaha, Nebraska area, and I used to work in corporate America. And after 20 years, they let me go. So I decided to just do something different, and went to some health coaching school to learn about health and life coaching, and just try to I've always been into holistic wellness and grow in that area and try to help people. What do I do right now? Geez, I have no idea. Which is kind of why I'm here in this group and just trying to navigate the craziness of the world with how that fits into serving people. And I feel like there's just so many things that need attention, and trying to narrow that down to where I need to put my energy and my focus has been really hard. And so this intuitive piece of that, I really need to ask source or try to figure out what it is I need to be focusing on, not only in serving people, but also trying to help make the world a better place in the future. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
I love it. Well, if you're asking, I believe that you're going to get the answers. And sometimes I think Source answers us through the people that come into our life.
Mm-hmm.
Like you three coming into my life. So I really feel like that's a blessing. And yeah, the answers come that way. You know, it doesn't,
Yeah.
I heard somebody say the other day, like when you ask the universe or you ask God for answers, it doesn't just come, a stork doesn't just come and just drop it on your lap. A lot of times it comes through people that we interact with. So yeah, well, you have a good heart, and I know that you're going to find the answers that you're seeking, my dear.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
You
Karen,
bet.
you want to share a little bit about you real quick and let everyone know?
Hi, yes. And thanks for bearing with me. I'm at the ocean. We took personal day
Wow.
today.
Yay!
A different ocean. My husband and I live in Florida. A little bit about me. I was in corporate world, I guess, for a long time. I was the director of dance at a middle school. Last year and a half ago, I'm trying to think, before all of the shutdowns of everything. And then I just kind of made my way out and opened my own company, which is called On the Go Talent. I love to promote people who, are singers, dancers. That's what I am by trade. I just released my first book. Super excited about that. I spent a lot of time in school studying for my PhD in curriculum and instruction, and now I'm really focused on spiritual life coaching and helping others, and just really in the holistic world too. I believe in the nutrition response testing, and I'm a product of that. So I'm just glad to be here. I love Becky, and I love connecting, and I'm highly intuitive. So I think that's why Becky wanted me on here as well. So thank you all. And I have a song release Friday. So a little bit about extra that I wanted to share. My husband and I have unfortunately suffered 6 miscarriages, but throughout that and throughout the trauma, I've created songs. So I have a song called Heal Us, Father, and that's going to be released on Friday, which is Pregnancy and Infant Loss Remembrance Day.
It's amazing, Karen. I'm so proud of you. Yay.
Thanks.
Keep doing what you're doing. Awesome.
Thanks so much.
I'm going to get you on here, and we're going to do a meet and greet so you can talk a little bit more about what you do in your spiritual coaching too. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, thanks for being
sure.
here. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah. All right. So for our special guest, Megan Wiseman, Megan has a business. It's called Power and Wisdom. And she is an intuitive mentor and a clinical hypnotherapist. And I don't know how I found Megan, but I was trying to find other people that were kind of like me, that were interested in some of the same things that I was interested in. And I think I found you in another group. We befriended each other. I invited people to your group, and then I won a free intuitive sensing session with you. And we just had a blast meeting each other and connecting and talking. And so I then invited you into my group, and we set up this call because this is a very, very important topic. Intuition, of course, and connecting to our creator and connecting to our inner guidance. And you have a unique way of helping people do that as well. And you have your own story. Oh, Carrie says it's 11:11.
Angel numbers.
Yes, angel numbers. Exactly. That means we're on the right track, right? And
I know.
Yay.
I went to the grocery store and my total yesterday was 44.
Wow.
So I was like, I'm on the right track or something.
Love it. Have you noticed that the angel numbers, the numerology, it's happening more and more and more? Like I've just seen that stuff.
I'm wondering if it's my awareness or they just want to give me know that I'm on the right track. And then sometimes I look up what the number means and what their message is. I'm getting weird and funny, but I love it. It's so fun because I see it more now.
It's like you're following the breadcrumbs,
Yeah, I'm like, okay, good. I'm still on the right track. They're just reminding me.
Yeah, right. So Megan, you help guide people to understand what their intuition is and how to tap into that in the work that you do. That's one of the things that you do, of course. And you gave me an example of that working with me during our one-to-one session that we had. And I love it. I just love how you do that. And I wanted to get started and ask you, how did you get started in actually in your practice, how did you bring intuition into your practice and begin opening up and sharing that with some of the clients that you worked with? And how did that happen?
Well, first of all, in my journey, I was very empathic, emotional. And so I went through like a dark night of the soul sort of thing where I was able to really go into the deeper, darker emotions that I was having. And then when I noticed as these emotions, as I learned to process and let go of the dark, heavy things I've been holding in my heart, my own intuitive abilities were strengthened. And I was able to learn how to connect to divine things, to the spirit around me. I realized the reason my heart was so heavy is because I am able to connect, and I'm able to connect to living and non-living. And so that intuition was kind of brought to my awareness because of my emotional journey that I went through. And so then I tried hypnotherapy, and that was like the bomb sauce, because I was like, oh my goodness, this is a thing. I am going to do this for people. I knew this was just how I was going to use my empathic ability to help people emotionally. That's just kind of how it was. I was going to help people with their heavy emotions like me. But then as I started to help people, I realized that there was this beautiful connection, that when we connect to the emotions, our intuition has the way of teaching us. So what I teach my clients is the intuitive senses. I know other people call them differently, but I was able to teach them about their intuitive senses of seeing, feeling, and hearing. So when I'm doing the emotional work with a client, I have them visualize what's coming, and I remind them that's your intuitive sense of seeing. And then that if they have words coming, I'm like, that's your intuitive sense of hearing. If they have feelings coming up. So as we're working through the emotion and it's this heavy, dark thing, they're able to process the emotion using their intuitive senses. And oftentimes it will connect them, and they'll start learning how to use that in their own life. Like just today, one of my clients said, okay, yesterday's session was so great. Now I'm cleared out. And she started getting downloads because we were working on all this confusion and doubt and all these things she was holding because she didn't have trust in herself. But once we removed all that, she said, I woke up this morning and I know what I'm supposed to do, because she got all of the emotions out of the way, the fear, the doubt, confusion. And now the divine wisdom is able to come back. She's able to hear and connect to the intuitive guidance that she needs because it's not muddled by all the emotions. So that's really fun. And during her session, obviously, some of my intuition is receiving your own guidance, but some of it is also receiving the guidance from your angels and your ancestors. And she's been able to tap in and do some of that deeper work. That's really fun. And so I loved helping people find their own divine guidance, but and also open themselves up to the bigger spiritual realm that is all around us, that's trying to help us and guide us through, our path. But we just have to get all the emotional garbage and blocks that are in the way so that we're open to that light and truth. So that's kind of what I do, is clear out the blocks, help you pinpoint them, and then get you really connected to those intuitive senses that maybe you have, but you're not aware of, or you haven't practiced using them. So as you start using them and becoming aware of them, then they get stronger, and you recognize what your intuition is saying and what it looks like, what it feels like, and what it sounds like. So that's kind of a short version, I guess, or a long version, whatever.
No, I love it. I love it. Love it. That's so true. I mean, it seems like what I'm finding personally and professionally with the people that I work with is that when they actually go in and work on those blocks, whether it be a thought form, a negative thought form that's there, a program, a belief, a limiting belief, which are all tied to our emotions, of course, and to our physical disease, any disease that's inside of our body, it kind of ends there, and you have pain and aches and pains and suffering in your body. It's a result of those things not being cleared and acknowledged, correct? Right?
Totally.
So I'm noticing that when you release those things, and when you go in and do that work and release those blocks, that your gifts, your spiritual gifts, really start to open up. It's almost like, one of my mentors says it's really like the gifts from your ancestors that are passed down to you. And I just think it's a beautiful thing. And if we all could tap into that, imagine what the world would be like,
Yeah.
just be.
Yeah. Because we always talk about like generational trauma and all the things that we get passed down from our generations. And then I was brought to my awareness that actually I was passed down some beautiful gifts and abilities. So I love that you mentioned that, because I've done a lot of generational work, and I was like clearing out abuse and alcoholism and addiction and all these things. And I was like, goodness, people, what did you pass down? But now I've opened my eyes and I start seeing like we have a long line of healers, and they're all in this long line. And that's why I'm in this work. And I have a long line on the other side. I'm trying to learn where everything's coming from, of intuition and connecting to divine. Like, I see that not everything has to be trauma. And once you remove and heal their traumas from within you, yeah, you're totally open to receive the good that comes from that. And a lot of my work is becoming more and more people are open to doing that generational work. And it just happens. Like one time I was in a session, and we did this inner child work with this little, and we did all the work for her, and she did it, and she was 4, and then she felt good. And then she said, my grandma's here. Like all of a sudden grandma showed up. And so they're here and they're waiting for us to do the work. And then they want help doing theirs. And that's part of my calling is
Yes.
connecting the earth and the heaven, like connecting, I don't know how to say that. Like,
yes, being a bridge between
yes, the bridge.
The spirit and earth realm. It's like the physical world and the non-physical world, and bridging between them. Yes.
And that's why we're being woken up, because it's like we can't forget the people who came before us are still hurting. And now all these tools and healing is happening in the world. And everyone before us didn't always have all that information and didn't have that. Right. And so they're coming to us like, oh, cool. My great granddaughter knows how to help me. And so I'm going to find my way to her and help me, because I need to know how to do the work that she's doing and heal. And so a lot of my work and my intuitive connection is teaching other people to reconnect to those people who need their stories heard and need that deeper healing for themselves. Because a lot of time we're always like, oh, I already did this. And I always do this. And my client said this yesterday. She was like, I already did this. Like, I've already done this work. I don't know why this is still here. Yes. So we went deep, and it was her great grandfather coming and saying, da, 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 da. So we had to go talk to him and tell him how to do that and help release that layer that was even deeper than her own, So it's like, wow, getting to that deepest root of the emotional trauma. And then that's why she felt like so open and clear today, because we released the deeper root. And I just love that kind of.
I'm getting like the goosebumps. I'm so giddy. I'm sitting over here so giddy, because I have also been guided in that direction, working with the non-physical world. It's so weird. And, we're talking about this, and I was like, oh God, are we going to talk about this? Because I don't know if people can really handle this conversation.
I know. I have had to just,
but you know what? It's
scary.
I can't deny it. I don't just make shit up. You know what I mean? I'm not just making this shit up. And of course, I don't want to be viewed as someone crazy, but I know that there's truth to this, and that my grandmother used to be a healer, and she used to put her hands on and talk about, I put my hands and there was this lump in somebody's breast, and I rubbed it, and then that person went back to the doctor and the lump was gone. But we used to think she was nuts. And lo and behold, I'm also a healer. Like
you're like, oh wait, there's
it was to that. Like, I didn't ask for that. I'm like a Christian. I'm a good girl. I'm over here minding my own business.
I know. And there's so many societal blocks, and I've had to just dispel, because I'm the same thing. Like, am I going to get burned at the stake for being a witch because I connect?
I know, right?
It's this societal thing that there's something wrong with somebody if they are connecting to spirit or they have healing gifts. And we've had to break those beliefs too, because
it is scary.
It's scary to be like, oh, are people gonna judge? Am I gonna be rejected? And that's why I'm just speaking it how it is now. Because now, at first I was like, is this really happening? Am I making this up? But now I'm like, no, this is part of my calling. This is part of my higher purpose, and I can't hold back anymore. And people are coming to me, and their ancestors are coming with them, and it's the work I'm doing. And if people don't like it, then they won't be a part of it. But
right. But you're seeing success, like you're seeing this work, like people are having relief.
Well, one of my missions is to turn the hearts of the children to their fathers. And that's like, it's hard to imagine that they really need our help, but they do. They're not perfect once they leave this life. They still have hurts and heartaches. So they come to us because we still have a body. We still hold the same DNA, and we can clear that spiritual lineage and trauma and don't carry that forward into future generations. That we're ready. It feels like our world is being awakened to healing and clearing, and so we can step into a better space and be better than the past.
Love it. Thank you
and
so
reclaim
much.
those gifts, like you said.
You
Reclaim
just-
those gifts
You
and
are
not
a
be
blessing.
ashamed of them. Yeah.
You are such a blessing, and I'm so glad that you're stepping into that truth and you're sharing that and being real and authentic. And I think that when people you can tell when somebody's being authentic, you know what I mean, and real, and they're speaking their truth and they're making stuff up, because there are spiritual leaders out there that are trying to take advantage, and I want to focus on them and give them my energy and my attention, but I've had my fair share of them. People who manipulate and they're false light, and we have to use our discernment to know the difference. But when you can check into your heart and you hear somebody speak their truth, there's less fear in that, and there's more curiosity. And if we can just be curious, just ask questions and be curious, and that's one goal that I have for the group that we have here together, is to really just encourage people to look outside of their belief systems. Because honestly, 10 years ago, if I had talked to you about this, I probably wouldn't have pursued a connection with you, because I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't open enough to that, because the programs and beliefs that I had being brought up in a religion, poo-pooed on that, and made me afraid of that. So I shut it down. There are so many times in my life where I had an opportunity to really expand my connection to the Creator in a way that I never could do that through going to church every Sunday. And reading the Bible that made no sense to me at the time. Like, I couldn't connect and I couldn't make sense of the words in Scripture, and I shut it down because I was afraid it was taking me away from Jesus. But really, I understand that it's Jesus is
a part of it.
Is a part of it. Right? He's a master.
He's training us
to
heal,
to show us how to be like him. He was a healer, right? He only saw perfection in everyone, and that's why they healed. The reason why you don't heal is because you see yourself as less than perfect. I don't want to be a preacher, right?
No, but I'm with you. I'm very religious, and that isn't always acceptable. That's why I've held back for a long time. There's been intuitive mentors that I've had that are like, you're holding back. And I used to not say things like this, because they're saying, you're not telling everything, you're not. And it's because I was afraid of what people would think, especially I'm in a very Christian community, and it's not always accepted, but it's becoming less feared. And I just realized that I keep being asked to do this work, and it is from divine sources. And I know my truth, and I know where it's coming from, and it is from my higher power. And they want the healing. They want the healing for people on this earth and the people that have passed. And that's just my calling. And I can't hold back anymore. It's time. It is time for us to step out of those past fears and beliefs that this isn't acceptable or okay. Because I'll tell you a story.
Yes.
I'm sorry, this is going this direction, but it's
take it, girl. Take it there. And if people are uncomfortable with this, you need to ask yourself why you're uncomfortable with it. But
I know. Well, I always wondered why I felt so ashamed of my gifts and my abilities, and that I felt like I was a healer, and that felt so like, oh, I can't show anybody. But I did an intuitive session with myself, because I trained myself to do it. And it brought me to two grandmothers, great grandmothers, one on each side, who were both accused of being witches in the Salem witch trials.
I got goosebumps. Oh gosh.
Because they had healing or intuitive gifts. So I held the fears of the grandmothers who were persecuted for using their gifts. I'm getting chills too. I held those same traumas because they had something and it wasn't accepted, It was feared, and one was murdered, one was was fine. But anyway, the fear of showing yourself and feeling like it's not accepted and you're not safe to do this and people will reject you, you could be hurt. Those thoughts and beliefs were passed down through all those years. But that's where also, like you said, where the gifts came from. So it's like I was able to talk them through it and have this healing session where it was healing the hurts in me and my own. That's why I was holding all that fear and rejection, but also teaching them that it's okay and that we're going to heal the trauma that you went through so you can step into a better place. And it's like we're rising together and we're not going to carry all that fear and we're going to move forward, and I can claim those gifts and release the trauma that was associated with it. And I have felt that difference. I felt like, oh, it's safe for me to say I like healing, or that's my gift. It's safe for me to say I speak to spirits, even though there's certain people I still don't tell. But when you're in a safe place, you can say it, because there's people who will be open to it and there's people who won't, and that's okay. But the people that I'm meant to serve will be okay with me talking about my lineage of healers that we're healing together and stepping into my new healing powers and gifts and abilities. Like, there's people who are ready and there's people who are not. So I just have to learn to accept those who are ready and be okay when I speak truth and what I feel.
And the people who are ready to hear your message are going to find you, and it's going to resonate, and they're going to need that. I needed to find you. Like, I have, so I was trained in NLP and hypnotherapy, Ericksonian hypnotherapy too. And awesome. My teacher brought some of the Eastern spiritual philosophies and combined it so that you were actually bringing energy work into the hypnotherapy session. And one of the protocols that we have, or techniques, or whatever you want to call it, it's called healing through time. And so you have them identify, something that they want to heal, and then you lead them into their heart consciousness, and then you ask them, when did that happen? Was it, it's been a long time since I've done this actual this type of technique, but you ask them, was it in this lifetime? Was it in the womb? Was it before conception? Was it the space between lifetimes? Or was it a past life? Or was it a past life? And, people who even, come in not even realizing that it could have been a past life, their intuition is telling them, oh, it was a past life. Okay, well, was it on your mother's side or your father's side? And their intuition tells them which side. And you go back and you don't even realize, like, if you're not open to that, then you're always going to think it's just your stuff in this lifetime that you have to work on. But it's so much more multidimensional than that. And beyond our understanding, and beyond our current awareness, beyond our boundaries even, and beyond our belief systems and our programs that we currently are in. And so I have seen amazing healing happen as a result of that. I have somebody that I worked with that, you take them through different methods of being able to view that. You take them up in a hot air balloon, and she went all the way back to a past lifetime, and the hot air balloon came down on top of a cabin in the woods, and this was a past life. And she was a midwife, and the baby died.
Oh,
He was trying to help the woman give birth, and the baby passed away, and she was blamed. So she was ostracized, and she quit being a midwife. Well, this person in this lifetime now wanted to be a nurse, but never went to school. I got goosebumps.
You probably had the fear.
Yeah. She had the fear, and that she was going to do something wrong. And she's such a wonderful, giving spirit, and she does help people who are past. She's had several family members and friends who have passed away, and she's been there with them, and she's just this beautiful angel. Anyway, I know that when I learned that technique, and I was blown away by seeing the results that happened in some of the clinical sessions that I had with my clients, and I've kind of put it away because I've been traveling and different things, not for any other reason other than me also working on myself. I've spent a lot of time working on myself.
It's really
tired.
well, you
I'm
have
so
to.
tired. What?
No, it's just part of the process. The healers need healing. It's constant, and it's important to always check in with you, because yeah, there's always new layers and things, and you can't bring that into your sessions. You got to
No.
feel connected and clean. And
Yes.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm going to be this perfect. I'm
Right.
always going to have layers, but if I'm not doing my own work,
Yes.
then it gets in the way of helping others. So it's important, and you learn so much.
Yes, you do.
I learned, I'm like, oh my goodness, I just did that. I'm going to use that. I'm going to do that with people. Like, I didn't know that was a thing. Let's do this, because I'm receiving so much when I'm working and healing from other sources. And I'm like, that's a thing. Let's do this. And you learn and you get new information and how to help others too, and more information about yourself. Like, I had this visual open, like of who I was before I came here and how I was prepared, and the different spiritual healing tools I have and what I was meant to do. It was like, through your healing, you're also receiving more information of your divine self. I love clearing out everything that's in the way, so you are so connected to who you really are, and you get rid of all those things you thought you were, those beliefs and those things that you thought you were in this life, and you find out who you truly are. And then once you know that deeper truth of my higher self and my higher purpose, it changes. It's like, there's times I'm like, I can't do this. This is too hard. And I'm like, I have to. Like, this is me. This is my purpose. Like, you can't give up when you know where it's coming from, and that this isn't just like a desire, wish of my heart. It's like my highest purpose and what I was prepared to do in the realm before this mortality, so it makes it even more ingrained and powerful when you have those truths of who you are deeply.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Preach it, sister. You're right. You're absolutely right. I completely agree with you 100%. And when we spoke, it was last week, wasn't it? We had our little call together.
So yeah,
it was last week. We started to talk a little bit more about the non-physical realm and how that really does come into play in the work that we do on ourselves, and help through guiding other people to find that inner guidance in themselves. And there was something about our conversation that really kind of activated me, it feels like, or gave me permission to be more open to how we can help heal our ancestors. Because I've always said, and I've always believed, not always, I didn't always believe this. I would say probably within the last 5 years, really believing that the work that we do on healing ourselves changes everything for our lineage, 7 degrees back, 7 degrees forward. And, somebody told me that, like, okay, did somebody make that up? Is it truth? I don't know. Maybe it's 20 degrees. I don't even care.
I say infinity. Let's go all the way.
The potential. But, the thing is that the people that came before us in our lineage, they came for a purpose, and they birthed us into this world so that we could be here at this time, in this moment, to bring our gifts forward and to not be afraid to do that. And so I'm so grateful to them. And I was at lunch with I think I mentioned this, I sent you a little message. I didn't go into detail about it, but I was eating lunch with my husband on Friday afternoon, and it's this like famous place in El Paso. It's right across the street from this cemetery that is a haunted cemetery, supposedly. I don't even know, but yeah.
Well, you can imagine that they're buried there. There's probably some spirits hanging out.
Spirits hanging out, right? And I said, I was like, let's go. And I was like, I was completely drawn. I was so excited to get in there. And it was really amazing. I started to talk to them. It wasn't like I had a ghost come up in front of me and start moving its mouth and talking to me. It was just a knowing of having a conversation and having a heart connection, and realizing that space is typically it's a space, in a graveyard. There's a lot of depression and grief and dense feelings and dense energy in that space. And I was like, well, who comes to these places and brings light and brings love
Oh, I love
gratitude.
that.
And so I just like walked through there and I was looking at some of the gravestones and thinking about their stories and what their life must have been like. And I just was so grateful to all of them. I said, we are so grateful that you did what you did to come here before us and the hardships that you went through, but you were a step in the ladder for us to be able to be here. And I said, we're so grateful, but we still need you because so many of them are still unwell and unhealed.
Yes.
And I said, imagine if you were willing to still work on your own healing in that dimension. And all of a sudden it was like they were lining up. I was like, no, wait. Up here.
Oh, I love that.
Wait. I don't even.
I don't know if I was right. Hey, I've done that and I've invited anyone and it's almost like I see a stadium and I'm like, well, we're going to do it right now. It's anybody who's ready. So I don't be afraid to speak your truth to them. And like all the things I've been trained to do with my clients here, they're ready. They're ready to hear those tools. They were living in a time where it was survival and not learning to process and feel and the things that we're able to do because we live in an easier way of living. We have more time to think and feel and learn and they didn't have that. They just made it day to day and struggled and hurt and pushed it down so they could get the next meal. I just think there is this need that wasn't met. That emotional need was never met, or maybe not never, but often not met because they didn't have those tools and understanding and knowledge. And now we do. And they're coming back to say, help us and heal us. And so I love that you had that experience.
Yes. And
I've had it too. Where at first I was like, whoa, and I could feel the heaviness. And I was like, oh no, what did I do? And then I would just be like, okay, what would I do if they were just here? And I imagined them all here. What would if I was giving a conference and teaching people how to go through their feelings and how to give them to their higher power or to release them and tell them they don't have to hold on to everything. So they're still souls. They're not, we think they're all scary and weird, but most of them are just hurting and need help. And so I love that you had that experience. And now you know that you have that ability to teach them. And I understand when you're like, it was just, I knew. And it's like, you don't have to always speak. It's just,
yes, it's
like a conversation with, I connect with the heart and I feel it. I know what they're feeling. The words just flow into my mind and out of their mind. It's like, you don't have to speak when you're in the spirit realm. It's like,
no,
words are, but you can, but it's just not necessary.
It's the spiritual senses that you were mentioning. It's
they'll flow
in different ways. Mine is just knowing, like it just depends. Like that's what comes through strongest for me and through feelings. But what was I going to say? Oh shoot. I was also looking at their gravestones and I was kind of reading like when they were born, when they died, and just like there was some babies and there were some there were like families who had the mother and the father had passed away, the son had passed away way before them, like a teenager, and that was the family. They were in their little plot area. Aww. And I was just thinking like, and I looked at them all and I said, you all were so loved, and you may not know that, but you were so loved. Even your day, if your life was one day or less, or if your life was this long life, like you are loved and you're not forgotten, and we love you and we're grateful for you. And I just felt like this, I don't know, it just got light. And I posted something on Facebook about it on my personal page. I didn't go into detail about it or anything.
That's so beautiful.
There were a couple, it just felt so good. It just felt like things lightened up, and I was afraid because I've typically been afraid to walk through the cemetery and like the dead and like being in hauntings and like ghosts.
Well, see how they've programmed us to think that, to fear all that,
I think it's a way to keep us away from the healing. Like there's
to keep us from the healing. Absolutely.
I think there's dark things too, but I can usually sense when I don't need to engage, or when I do, when I know that I can just send them away, or if someone needs to be taught and healed. So,
but even if you just think about everyone who approaches a cemetery with a different mindset, with a empathy and compassion instead of fear, how much healing just that in general,
I
even
felt-
with people who don't
I love
connect
that
at
you
that
did
level.
that.
I'm going to start doing it more often. Anybody want to
Well,
go
That's
with me?
amazing.
Well, if you have a bunch of light and truth, then those who are ready for that will come, and they'll be like, who is this person who is holding light, and how do I learn from this? And then you just do like you did. I think some of them just need guidance, and they need to get out of their dark little prison of sorrow, and they're like, oh, I can move forward and progress. And I sometimes invite them to go to the light, like, oh, so you've been in this place, but there's a higher, brighter place for you if you're willing. And I invite them. And obviously I use lots of angels. So I'm always like,
Yeah.
I invite them to go to their ministering angels and help the angels help them. So I'm not like, I can't be stuck with them forever. I can't help every soul and have them be in my energy forever. So I just like am like the messenger to guide them to the next place and help them step into their next progression. So that's really fun to feel like you can help someone who's been in darkness for 100 years in the cemetery step into their next phase of progression. It's fun. I'm trying to enjoy the process of learning it and just accept that it's my mission. And if people aren't cool with it,
Oh,
I know what
well.
I need to be doing. So this is what I do.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I know Karen has something to say, and
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
going to let her unmute herself, but I wanted to say that I feel like the catalyst for me with a lot of this was my father's death, and he took his own life 5 years ago. And I went to my church and I asked for guidance. I'm like, well, is he in hell? Like, they were kind of telling me he's in hell. I'm like, no, my father's not in hell. And then I had other people tell me that he was in an unresourceful place. My dad was an atheist and he didn't believe in God. And so someone that I was working with at the time helped me guide him into the light. And
Yes.
I actually helped some of my clients guide their loved ones into the light through that same process. And I just trusted it. And it was like, so I know that that's possible. And I know people that I've talked to who believe that that's their life purpose, and they do that. And I don't know, like I'm still new to that aspect of healing. I'm just so excited about it. And Karen, did you want to say something? I know you might want to.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. And I just wanted to add that, I was raised Catholic, but through all of this healing, I have such a different perspective. And I speak to a lot of healers, and we're all raised Catholic. And from the people that I've spoken to, there's a lot of disconnection and truth that really makes you, question. And there's a lot of fear that's put in. So as we like to say, we're recovering Catholics. I'm a Christian, if that makes sense to you all, and like, that's what I think took a long time, because I've been listening to you, and thank you so much, both, for sharing all this and just digesting it. And what I want to say is that everybody's here for their own journey. And with that being said, we're all figuring it out. We're all figuring it out. There is no, one right or wrong. And I think that's what the Catholic Church wanted us to believe, and that's a block. I hate to say that, but it became a block in my life, because I had all that guilt, and they let you hold on to that guilt, that fear, that this, that. And I'm like, no, this doesn't really line up with my beliefs so much anymore. No, I want to be Christ-like, but not your traditions. So I just wanted to share that.
I love that. I'm with you, because I felt there is so much fear, because it's the unseen, it's the unknown. And sometimes people don't know the answers. I don't know all the answers. I just get what I have and what comes, and I'm learning and getting connected and discovering what is over there. And I just have this understanding that there's just like this, it's not like everyone is straight to hell or straight to heaven, but there's just this spirit realm, this spirit world where they're still progressing. And there's not like, you didn't do everything perfect and you have to go to hell right away. It's like, I believe in a God who is merciful and gracious and wants all of his children back, and he'll give you chance and mercy and understanding and forgiveness. And he's just waiting for that to happen. So I feel like there's this little spirit world that is just where they're continuing to progress and grow. It's not like finalized once you're out of body. That's why I feel like this work is important, because we're still helping those people who didn't maybe know or understand, or it's kind of isn't fair if people didn't have all the truth and understanding when they were here. It's only a short life if you think of eternity. So he is grace, he's giving us grace by allowing us more time to learn and grow. And it's funny how it's building those people who are still alive and the people who are gone. We are growing and rising together. Of course, it's this perfect plan that he's giving us all grace and helping us all learn and heal together. And I believe that that's just part of the plan, and it's bigger than probably we can imagine, but he's giving us pieces and parts and telling us what part we have to play in it, and just having that inner knowing and that trust that whatever gifts and abilities you've been given, they're yours for a reason, and trusting those and learning and progressing in them is exciting, and it's fun to be a part of this work. That's why everybody's opening up. I think it's time for everyone to heal.
It gives you so much more energy and joy. Like when I follow my truth, and I follow like those breadcrumbs that are laid in front of me, and those things that feel really good and make me open up, it just gives me so much more energy, because the fear of the unknown and fear of death and fear of all these things just keeps us closed down and small. But when you begin to be a little bit more curious, and you open up and you ask questions, and you trust the guidance coming through, you trust it from here, because it's really coming from here.
Yep.
God isn't really like out in the clouds, in my opinion. I've discovered that God is not up out in the clouds, separate from us. Everything is in here.
Yep. And I believe that. Well, and I feel like our spirit, this is, I've studied a book, this Anatomy of the Spirit. She talks about that. Like, if you learn about chakras and the energy centers and everything, she talks how everything we need is programmed into there. It's all within. And that's why we have to go inward. We need to be quiet. We have to learn to listen. And we are always seeking outward, which is good. I get so much information. But the best things have come to me when I've gone inward and asked, what is it? What inner knowing do I have? What have I already been programmed and prepared to do? And those things come to me. I wrote a book that I knew was already in my heart. It was inside of me, and I was bringing it out, so having that knowledge that everything you need has already been placed here. And it's because God is here, but he also created. He's the father of our soul. I believe he's the father of my spirit. And so of course he would create me and put everything I would need inside of me so that I could come here. And I feel like that's the emotional work, is getting all that stuff out. So you're unveiling the truth and unveiling the wisdom that's already here. It's moving all those things out of the way.
True. Yeah. So beautiful. I love how you put that.
Yes.
Love it. And I know that when I take the time before a session to really center myself and connect to my heart consciousness and to my intuition and to my source, to my guides, my angels, whatever you would call that, clearing the space and really going within, like my sessions go amazing. But when I'm up in my head and I'm like, oh, I gotta do it like this. I have to be the expert. I have to be the expert.
I gotta know all the answers.
Right. Yeah. Right. If you're an ego and in your head because you're trying to follow a protocol, or you got to do this, you can't cross that line, this is a boundary, like, oh, what do you think about me, like I have to get results for my clients. Like anytime you're doing that, you're not in your heart.
Yeah. And just letting things come. I've had multiple sessions and multiple things where I'm like, I don't know why I'm going this way, but we are. And I'm like, is this going to work? I just had one this week and I'm like, why is it going here? And then I was like, okay. And it came back around and I'm like, okay, that makes sense now. But normally I'd be like, this is weird, and let's not go there. But I went there and then it came back around and I'm like, okay, so I was following the thoughts and the inspiration, even though it didn't logically make sense to me until it all came together in the end. So following your heart and intuition usually comes together in a better way than trying to be like thinking through it. So
exactly right. Yeah. And I don't know if I was going to say there, but I sometimes ask my clients, permission, I'm just getting a strong sense that
Yes.
this is where we need to go with this. Are you okay with that? Is that okay?
Yes,
that you can
totally.
trust that? How do you feel about this? And they'll be like,
Totally.
yeah, fine. And then all of a sudden it's just like this epiphany or this total, like this light gets shined on something that maybe we never, thought was.
Or I would say something, and I'm like, I feel like there's somebody here who in your giant line that, and I'm sorry if this isn't okay, but I feel like there's someone here. And then they're like, that's funny. My grandpa, his name just popped in my head right before you said that. And it's like, ding, ding, ding. We're working together. It's like,
Yes.
if you don't trust it and say it, then they'll be like, why did my grandpa's head just pop in? I mean, my grandpa's name just popped in my head. So when you're trusting and feeling, a lot of times that is validated by what they're feeling. And because I'm getting more and more intuitive people, it's like this beautiful partnership of they tell me what they're feeling and I tell them what I'm feeling. And then we use it and we grow into this beautiful healing process together. And those are my favorite, these intuitive souls that I have, because I take what I know, they take what they, and it's like, we're building it together, and you're validating and supporting and moving through the process together. So that's super fun in the session to do that.
Even outside a session, like I said, like meeting all three of you and so many
true.
people in this group.
Right now.
Yes, right now, like we're creating something and we're in the flow, and we don't know where this is going to go, but I just love collaborating with everyone and hearing how you're inspiring me in the ways that you use your intuition in the work that you do, and we're each growing and learning and sharing. And I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see where this is going to go. And I'm so excited to see how this is going to play out in my life and the work that I continue to do as well. But I want to be mindful of your time.
I know I have a client in 5 minutes.
Okay, so let's wind down. I'm gonna let you go because you're gonna need to get yourself ready for that too. And I want to.
This has been perfect because I feel like the flow is starting. So
yes,
we're good.
It definitely is. Okay. Well, how do people find you, Megan, if they want to connect with you?
I have that Facebook group is where I've been working a lot. It's been really fun inside the Intuitive Empowerment group on Facebook, or I'm on Instagram as Power and Wisdom. So you can find me there. And so I don't know where I dropped that, but if I see this in your group, I'll put the link or whatever.
Put the link in there. Absolutely. Let's all stay connected. Carrie and Karen, thank you so much for being here, and let's continue this conversation and
keep it going. I'm so glad
thank you so much.
That desire inside of you is opened up to connect.
Yes, definitely.
So
all right. I love you all three of you, and everyone who's listening.
Love you. Thanks, Becky.
Yeah, thank you. You guys have a beautiful rest of your day, and let's stay connected, okay?
Okay.
All
bye.
Right.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
everyone. Bye, Carrie.